verses 26 and 27. And as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be also in the days of the Son of Man. They did eat, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. During the many weeks of the past, we have covered subjects that pertain to our time and the preparation for the close of probation, or the sealing of the 144,000. And that preparation, or that sealing time, will close when the three angels have done their work and God's people have been sealed in their forehead. Probation has closed. When probation closes, the 144,000 will be sealed, and then, as the term goes, all hell will be let loose. Let's go and read there in Daniel chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. Daniel 12, verse 1 and 2. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to the same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. A time of trouble such as never was. I'd like us to spend some time today in understanding the kind of trouble such as never was, and the safety that is to be found alone in God. Did you notice as we read here, at that time thy people shall be delivered. At the time when there is such a trouble as never was before, God's people will be delivered. It's the time of Revelation 16 verse 1, the outpouring of God's wrath. The outpouring of God's wrath, the vials of God's wrath. And I'd like you to follow me in reference to one of these plagues, just to be able to picture in our mind this kind of trouble. Revelation 16, verses 17 to 20. Revelation 16, verses 17 to 20. This is one of them. And if you think about all the other ones together with that, it's truly horrendous. Here it says, and the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, it is done. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings. And there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake, and so great. And the great city was divided into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell. And great Babylon came in remembrance before God to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. and every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. And then there was this terrible great hail. Can you let your imagination exercise itself in the description that is given here? What kind of trouble are we here beholding? When it says that there's going to be an earthquake like it has never been before. The Great Lisbon earthquake covered millions of square miles. It was felt very much across the globe. But this earthquake is such a severe earthquake that nothing else has been like it. And did you notice it says, every island fled away, and the mountains were not found? What sort of a catastrophe is this description here? That mountains will not be found. They'll be pulled up by their roots, as it were, and thrown over the globe. And the islands were fleeing away. Well, we'll let the spirit of prophecy describe it for us. Very interesting language here in the spirit of prophecy of great controversy. In Great Controversy, page 636. Great Controversy 636, reading there from paragraph 3. She quotes here from verse 17, there was a voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne saying, "It is done." That voice shakes the heavens and the earth. The heavens shake and the earth. There is a mighty earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. The firmament appears to open and shut. The firmament appears. It's talking about the atmosphere opening and shutting. What does that mean? The glory from the throne of God seems flashing through. The mountains shake like a reed in the wind, and ragged rocks are scattered on every side. Can you imagine a mountain going like that? I was in New Zealand when there was an earthquake, and that was bad enough when I was there. But before that, it was so bad, and I was told that the trees that were standing upright, when the earthquake took place, it was like an S shape. They were going like that. Imagine the mountains doing that, like a reed in the wind. And ragged rocks are scattered on every side. There is a roar of his coming tempest. The sea is lashed into fury. There is heard the shriek of a hurricane, like the voice of demons upon a mission of destruction. Now notice what happens. The earth heaves and swells like the waves of the sea. Have you ever seen anything like that? That the crust of the earth is going like this, like the waves of the sea. Its very foundation seemed to be giving way. Mountain chains are sinking. Inhabited islands disappear. The seaports that have become like Sodom for wickedness are swallowed up by the angry waters. Babylon the Great has come in remembrance before God, to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. And great hailstones, every one about the weight of a talent, the weight of 2 cement bags. In the days when the cement bags were bigger, that was the size. These great hailstones will, the proudest cities of the earth are laid low. I wonder whether we really take these words to describe a scene that is well nigh impossible for us to imagine. To be able to live on the planet with that kind of upheaval, that the earth's crust is breaking up and behaving like the ocean. Let's go over to Isaiah chapter 24, verse 17 to 20, and see here the description of just such a cataclysm. Isaiah 24, verses 17 to 20. Fear and the pit and the snare are upon thee, O inhabitant of the earth. And it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit. And he that cometh out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in the snare. For the windows from on high are open, and the foundations of the earth do shake. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage. And the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. Can you imagine yourself living in that situation? What would you crave for when this planet is in such convulsions? What would you crave for? The very thing I'm preaching about this morning. Safely with God. That's the title of our sermon. Safely with God. The description that is given here of mountains shaking like a reed, of the earth's crust breaking open and behaving like ocean, and the axis of the earth going back and forth like a drunkard. What would you expect? Could you dwell on such a surface? How is it possible? The description that we have just been reading is precisely the same as was written in Genesis chapter 7 with just a little bit more water, that's all. Genesis chapter 7, reading there verses 10 and 11. And it came to pass, after 7 days, that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. Do you remember reading that? The windows of heaven opened? And the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And in the selfsame day entered Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife and the 3 wives of his sons with them into the ark. What was the experience of them? Let's go on to verse 21 to 23. And all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl and of cattle and of beasts and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, and every man. All in whose nostrils was the breath of life, of all that was in the dry land, died. And every living substance was destroyed, which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle, and creeping things, and the fowls of heaven. And they were destroyed from the earth, and Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark. If you permit your mind to appreciate with what we have learned in science today, with the Earth's crust, with the shifting of the shells, and the great rift in the bottom of the sea, which continually bubbles up water, the fountains of the deep were broken open. And what actually happened, if you study deeply into this material, the earth was actually rippling underneath, because as the springs of the deep burst open, there was water beneath the earth that shot up and pushed the shelves of the earth. And it talks about it in Genesis there, that the earth was divided. The crust of the earth was rippling in those days too. Mountains were formed that weren't there before. And we want to read some more detail of this in the book Education, page 29. Reading there from page 129, paragraph 2. It says, in the middle of the paragraph there, before the flood, the development of vegetable and animal life was immeasurably superior to that which has since been known. At the flood, the surface of the earth was broken up. Remember reading that there before? In our time, the surface of the earth being broken up. That happened there. Marked changes took place, and in the reformation of Earth's crust, the reformation of Earth's crust, were preserved many evidences of the life previous existence. The vast forests buried in the earth at the time of the flood, and since changed to coal, from the extensive coal fields, and yield the supplies of oil that minister to our comfort and convenience today. These things as they are brought to light, are so many witnesses mutely testifying to the truth of the Word of God. And we continue the meditation on patriarchs and prophets as to why the earth covered up huge forests. How did that happen? Because the earth's crust was broken up in the flood, and things were happening on the planet which was more than just rain. Here in Patriarchs and Prophets, page 107, paragraph 4, it goes on to say, the entire surface of the earth was changed at the flood. A third dreadful curse rested upon it in consequence of sin. As the water began to subside, the hills and mountains were surrounded by a vast turbid sea, everywhere were strewn the dead bodies of men and beasts, the Lord would not permit these to remain to decompose and pollute the air. Therefore, he made of the earth a vast burial ground, a violent wind which caused to blow for the purpose of drying up the waters, moved them with great force, in some instances even carrying away the tops of the mountains, and heaping up trees and rocks and earth above the bodies of the dead. By the same means the silver and gold, the choice wood and precious stones which had enriched and adorned the world before the flood, and which the inhabitants had idolized, were concealed from the sight and search of men. The violent action of the waters, piling earth and rocks upon these treasures, and in the same cases even forming mountains above them, God saw that the more he enriched and prospered sinful men, the more they would corrupt their ways. The treasure that should have led them to glorify a bountiful giver had been worshipped, and so on. So there was Noah and his 3 sons and the wives in this boat, and this was what was happening around them. The earth was convulsing. In fact, the earth used to, if you study carefully, the earth's axis used to be upright. There was no ice caps. It was a beautiful, different planet. When the flood came with all its convulsions, the earth tilted on its side. And you had the seasons, and then you had all the mountains that before were smooth and beautiful and not very high and rugged. They became very tall. There was Mount Everest. There were mountains that were rippled like the waves of the sea. You can actually see pictures of these ripples of mountains. Because what happened was that as the crust of the earth was being broken up, the continental shifts took place and squashed mountains into existence, heaving them up and rippling the earth. These kind of scenes were transpiring back there, and the same kind of scenes are going to transpire very soon. In both of these scenes, could there be any possibility of survival? In the time of Noah, the people were all killed, all the animals. The only people that were safe were those in the ark. But what happened to the ark in all this turmoil? For us who are living at this time, there is a call. There is a call. Let's come to Isaiah 26, verse 20 and 21. Isaiah chapter 26, verses 20 and 21. Follow very carefully each word. Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself, as it were, for a little moment, until the indignation be overpast. For behold, the Lord cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood, and shall no more cover her slain. Another scripture is, the animals, the birds, will come along and eat the flesh of dead people. There won't be a covering of them. So what is the language of God to us today? Come, my people, enter into thy chambers. Come. Do you remember what we read for our scripture reading? Luke 17, 26 and 27. Let's just go there. Where Jesus says that what is happening in the day when Jesus returns and all that connected time period, he says here in Luke 17, verses 26 and 27, as it was in the day of Noah, so shall it also be in the day of the Son of Man. They did eat, drink, they married wives, they were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark and the flood came and destroyed them all. Likewise also, verse 28, as it was in those days of Lot. And verse 30, even thus shall it be when the Son of Man is revealed. God's words for Noah, you will notice, are very similar to God's words for us. Come, my people, come and enter into your chambers. What were the words to Noah? Let's go to Genesis chapter 7, verse 1. And the Lord said unto Noah, come thou and all thy house into the ark. For thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Did you read it right? Come thou. When somebody says, come, what does that suggest? Come. He didn't say, go into the ark, did he? He says, come into the ark. What does that mean? That means come where I am, doesn't it? Come to me. Not go, come. Come into the ark. In other words, God was in the ark. Just as he said, come my people into thy chambers today. He's saying to us today, like he spoke to the people before Noah's time, come to be protected. Come thou into the ark. Come my people. Come where? In the days of Noah, they were to come into the ark. And God was with them in the ark. We are to come today where? Psalms 27, verses 4 and 5. Psalm 27, verses 4 and 5. And this is beautiful language, poetic but not poetic fancy. One thing I desired of the Lord, that I will seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in his temple, for in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me up upon a rock. When God says, come thou out of Babylon, come thou into thy chambers, In the time of trouble, he shall hide me where? In his pavilion, in the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. Where is God? In the tabernacle, in the temple, like he was in the ark. And God is saying, come into my pavilion. Come and be protected in my presence. This we are to do today as in the days of Noah. Was Noah still bodily on the planet? He was in the ark, and it was rocking to and fro amongst all the turbulence of the terrible cataclysm of that time. Are we going to be on this planet Earth? Yes, we are. And we will be bodily experiencing this cataclysm of indescribable destruction. Noah entered into the ark and the door was shut. We are invited today, before this great, terrible outpouring of destruction, just the same way, and we are to enter in before the door shuts. Let's come there to Matthew 25. These are the words of Jesus, directly relevant to our time. Matthew 25. And there, the parable of the 10 virgins is given. Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise and 5 were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said unto the wise, Give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. But the wise answered, saying, Not so, lest there be not enough for us and you, but go ye rather to them that sell, and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in with him into the marriage, and the door was shut. If you read widely in reference to this message came in 1843 to 1844 and onwards. Ever since Jesus went into the most holy place, the call for God's people to enter into the tabernacle, into his pavilion, was given to be protected. And the message of the 3 angels has continued ever since, for people to come into his pavilion, to be protected. But many people, like the foolish virgins, don't know what it's about. And when the door is shut, they want to come in. When probation closes, and probation closes over the years for the human race ever since 1844. That's quite a study in itself. So there are many people who want to change. They want to come into the ark when the door is shut. And they are not protected. When the door was shut, it took 7 days before it rained. The door shuts for people and they don't even know it's shut. And you know, for me as a servant of God, ministering to people, I come to situations where I can see the door has shut and they don't even know it. The door shuts when we are locked into a state of beings that we cannot change. Remember what the sealing is? A settling into the truth, so that, both intellectually and spiritually, so that we cannot be moved. We're shut in. And there are people who have rejected the truth for so long that ultimately they can't even stop rejecting it anymore. They haven't got it in them anymore to stop. They just can't stop. And they don't even get the help from God because they've resisted His voice for so long that it can't even be heard anymore. But today, if you and me are here and we can hear His voice, He is still calling. And we can still go in there if we learn to have the oil in our vessels to be the wise virgins. So this message today is a comforting message as well as a frightening, serious message. As we in the heavenly sanctuary are to be there by faith, we are to be shut in with God through His beautiful Word, through the study of understanding God in His Word, like we've studied it in the Sabbath school lesson, that we are locked into His embrace, and we are by faith with Him in the sanctuary, in His pavilion, in His temple. Many people are the foolish virgins that can't get in there because they don't even understand the message. They could do. But what of our physical condition and position while we are there in His pavilion? Our physical position is still here on this earth. During those terrible cataclysmic events, let's come over to Isaiah 33. Isaiah chapter 33, reading there verses 14 to 16. The sinners in Zion are afraid. Scared stiff, yes? Fearfulness has surprised the hypocrites. Who among us shall dwell with the devouring fire? Who among us shall dwell with everlasting burnings? To dwell in the midst, to have a physical existence in this terrible cataclysm. Who? He that walketh righteously and speaketh uprightly, he that despiseth the gain of oppression, that shaketh his hands from holding of bribes, that stoppeth his ears from hearing of blood, and shutteth his eyes from seeing evil, he shall dwell on high. His place of defence shall be the munitions of rocks. Bread shall be given him, his waters shall be sure. Thine eyes shall see the King in his beauty, they shall behold the land that is very far off. Thine heart shall meditate terror. Where is the scribe? Where is the receiver? Where is he that counted the towers? Etc. So what is it saying? We will still be bodily on this planet, but our defense is our hiding place with Jesus in the sanctuary above and the door shut, probation closed. And we will be protected in a safe place. He shall dwell, verse 16, on high. His place of defense shall be the munitions of rocks. Bread shall be given him, his waters shall be sure. So while the world is in convulsions, God's people will be on this planet like Noah was, in a safe haven, that God is taking care of them. In safety in the presence of God. Yes, the earth is heaving. all about us, as in the ark, we are to be with God, because we came at the call, "Come into my pavilion." Let's read it here, beautifully described in Spiritual Gifts. Spiritual Gifts, Volume 3. As Noah was in the ark, notice what protection he was receiving, like we are to receive in the presence of God. It's on page 70, paragraph 1. The violence of the storm increased, and there were mingled with the warring of the elements the wailings of the people who had despised the authority of God. Trees, buildings, rocks, and earth were hurled in every direction. The terror of man and beast was beyond description. And even, notice this, even Satan himself, who was compelled to be amid the warring elements, feared for his own existence. That's how bad it was. He had delighted to control so powerful a race and wished them to live, to practice their abominations and increase their rebellion against the God of heaven. He uttered imprecations against God, charging him with injustice and cruelty. Many of the people, like Satan, blasphemed God, and if they could have carried out their rebellion, would have torn him from the throne of justice. While many were blaspheming and cursing their Creator, others were frantic with fear, stretching their hands toward the ark, pleading for admittance. But this was impossible. God had closed the door, the only entrance, and shut Noah in and the ungodly out. He alone could open the door. Their fear and repentance came too late. They were compelled to know that there was a living God who was mightier than man, whom they had defied and blasphemed. They called upon him earnestly, but his ear was not open to their cry. Some in their desperation sought to break into the ark, but that firm-made boat resisted all their efforts. Some clung to the ark until borne away with the furious surging of the waters, or their hold was broken off by rocks and trees that were hurled in every direction. Those who had slighted the warning of Noah, notice what they'd done? They had slighted, just like they do today. It's all right, plenty of time, no worries. Slighted the warnings of Noah and ridiculed that faithful preacher of righteousness, repented too late of their unbelief. The ark was severely rocked and tossed about. How was it tossed about? Severely. The beasts within expressed by their varied noises the wildest terror. Even in the ark there was terror. Yet, amid all the warring of the elements, the surging of the waters and the hurling about of trees and rocks, the ark rode safely. Angels that excel in strength guided the ark and preserved it from harm. Every moment during that frightful storm of 40 days and 40 nights, the preservation of the ark was a miracle of almighty power. As in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the day of the Lord. Oh yes, frightful experiences, protected by the angels. Let's read some scriptures to get it very clear. First of all, we are to come into his pavilion. Come, thou Noah, into the ark. Come into my presence. There in this cataclysm of earth's destruction in the days of Noah, where even Satan was afraid for his existence, God's presence was there in the ark. Come to Psalms 18. Psalms 18, reading there verses 6 to 19. Very interesting language here for us today. Psalms 18, verses 6 onwards. In my distress I called upon the Lord and cried unto my God. He heard my voice out of his temple, and my cry came before him, even into his ears. Then the earth shook and trembled. The foundations also of the hills moved and were shaken because he was wroth. There went up a smoke out of his nostrils, and fire out of his mouth devoured. Coals were kindled by it. You read it there in the days of God's wrath in Revelation, that the smoke filled the temple, so that no man could be in the temple. Interesting here. Here it is. Smoke out of his nostrils, fire out of his mouth, devoured, coals were kindled by it. He bowed the heavens also and came down. He came down, and darkness was under his feet. Where is that written? That Jesus was right there. Revelation 19 with the angels. He's right there in the midst of it all. He came down, and darkness was under his feet. And he rode upon a cherub, and did fly. Yea, he did fly upon the wings of the wind. He made darkness his secret place. His pavilion round about him were dark waters and thick clouds of the skies. Dark waters was the pavilion. So he left the sanctuary above, he came down here, and he was right there in the midst of the wrath of God. And darkness was his pavilion. That's where we're to be hidden. Interesting, isn't it? Remember when Jesus was on the cross? And there was the earthquake, and there was darkness. Jesus was hidden at the cross. At the brightness that was before him, his thick clouds passed. Hailstones and coals of fire. Hailstones, here they are. The Lord also thundered in the heavens, and the highest gave his voice. Hailstones and coals of fire. That's what we read there, didn't we? His voice from heaven. Yea, he sent out his arrows and scattered them, and he shot out lightnings and discomfited them. Then the channels of waters were seen, and the foundations of the world were discovered at thy rebuke. O Lord, at the blast of the breath of thy nostrils. He sent from above, he took me, he drew me out of many waters. He delivered me from my strong enemy, and from them which hated me, for they were too strong for me. They prevented me in the day of my calamity, but the Lord was my stay. He brought me forth also into a large place. He delivered me because he delighted in me. Here is the psalm. Here is the psalm of God's protection. He will hide us in his pavilion, because his pavilion will be the darkness of the wrath of God. He's going to be right in the midst of it with his people. That's why he says, come thou, while you are still on this planet, come to be with me by faith in the sanctuary and surrounded by my darkness, where I will protect you. This is the meaning of what we were reading there, come into thy chambers. Like come into the ark. Come into the chambers of God's protection. Bible Commentary, Volume 4, page 1143, there it is. 4 BC, 1143, paragraph 6. It says, what are the chambers in which they are to hide? Come thou into thy chambers to protect you. That's from Bible Commentaries, Volume 4, page 1143, paragraph 6. Come into thy chambers. What are the chambers in which they are to hide? They are the protection. They are the protection of Christ and holy angels. Just like Christ and the holy angels were protecting Noah and his sons. The people of God are not at this time all in one place like Noah was within the ark. No, not in one place. They are in different companies and in all parts of the earth. And they will be tried singly, not in groups. Everyone must stand the test for himself. So much to think about. Come, my people, into my presence. The subject of the sanctuary, his pavilion, faith in Jesus Christ, obeying the atonement message, gathering around the mercy seat. Wasn't that what we were singing? From every stormy wind that blows, from every swelling tide of woes, there is a calm, a sure retreat. 'Tis found beneath the mercy seat. Is there another beautiful text that comes to your mind in this terrible time? Psalms 91, 1 to 10. Beautiful, beautiful comfort that it is in God's presence that our protection is found. Come thou into his presence. Come thou into the ark. Come thou into thy chambers. What are they? He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. He, come thou into the ark. The ark would have been completely swamped, but no, because he was in the ark. Psalm 91. Here it is. He was in the ark. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him will I trust. Surely He will deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with His feathers, and under His wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. Thou shalt not be afraid. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day, because there's war going on as well, nor for the pestilence that walketh in the darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. Only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked. Because, why? Why? Because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation. Remember we read it there? To dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, my habitation. There shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. Because where's your dwelling? Dwell in the secret place of the Most High. Come thou. Come thou. Can you see the call? Can you hear the personal call today? With all that we have studied, here now is God giving us an altar call. Did you hear it? I feel very uncomfortable giving people an altar call, but I'm not uncomfortable when God is calling you. Come thou into his presence. Now is the time to come. It's nearly over. The door is already, as we read in early writings 44, the ceiling is the covering that is to cover God's people. It's nearly pulled over altogether. Much more now than when Sister White wrote that. God's presence is our covering. Now to learn total trust now. Total trust through the heavens, though the heavens fall. Total trust. That's what we need to learn now. If we haven't learned it now and we're not shut in with the presence of God now, we will not enjoy protection when the door shuts. We want to be shut in. This is the call like it was in the days of Noah. But what do people do? I'm too busy. It's all right. Although First World War has already been, Second World War has already been, the warnings are around us, people still go, we're in Australia, we're so comfortable. In America, we're so comfortable. The only places, that's further out over there, that's all right. Well, already God's wrath is falling out upon many other nations. It'll fall upon us too. God gives us the sense of being cradled in his embrace when the earth and the rocks fly. May God help us not to live in poetic fancy. Beautiful psalm, isn't it? Psalm 91. Oh, so lovely. Well, what are we doing about it? And that's the issue. We have no time left much longer. We must secure our position with God through his word so that we are prepared for the time of the close of probation, and it's just about closing. Praise God, he's given us the message, the final call to come in that door and secure our place there. May God help us to meditate much on this and give our hearts to this beautiful, affectionate call of the Lord and realize he is powerful enough to protect us in these cataclysm experiences. Amen.